The brisk morning air carried a hint of autumn as Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, stepped out of her car, a warm smile gracing her face. She was visiting a small rural village in the heart of England, renowned for its scenic landscapes and tight-knit community. Today's agenda was simple yet meaningful: a tour of a local children's center and an informal meeting with the residents to discuss community welfare. As she adjusted her elegant wool coat, a soft rustle in the bushes nearby caught her attention. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. At first, it seemed inconsequential. Kate resumed her stride, greeted warmly by a handful of locals gathered nearby. However, the sound persisted. It was subtle, almost hesitant, as if someone or something was trying to remain unnoticed. She turned slightly, and her gaze fell upon a pair of soulful brown eyes peering out from the shadows. A stray dog, thin and scruffy, was watching her intently. Kate's heart softened instantly. Despite its unkempt appearance, the dog exuded an unexplainable charm. Its fur, though matted and dusty, carried traces of what might once have been a glossy coat. Its tail wagged nervously, betraying both excitement and caution. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Kate felt an odd pang of connection. As the day unfolded, the stray dog remained an unnoticed presence. It followed her at a respectful distance, its steps mirroring hers as she moved between the day's activities. Whether she was crouching to speak with a child or listening intently to a resident, the dog was there, hovering at the edge of the gathering. Kate noticed it more than once, her curiosity growing. Why had it chosen her? And what was it trying to convey? By the time the official engagements had ended, the afternoon sun was casting a golden glow over the village. Kate took a moment to savor the peaceful surroundings, her security team giving her a small radius of space. She saw the dog again, sitting a few feet away, its head tilted slightly as if contemplating her. Finally, she decided to approach. "Hello there," she said softly, crouching down. The dog flinched but didn't run. She reached out a tentative hand, and the dog took a cautious step forward, sniffing the air between them. Its eyes seemed to plead for kindness, and Kate responded with a gentle touch, stroking the dog's matted fur. "You've been following me all day, haven't you?" Her security team looked on with mild concern, but Kate waved them off. She asked a nearby resident about the dog, only to learn it had been wandering the village for weeks. No one knew where it had come from, and efforts to capture it had been futile. Most people dismissed it as another stray, but Kate saw something different. An unspoken story waiting to be told. Before leaving the village, Kate made arrangements. She asked her team to contact local animal welfare services, ensuring the dog would be taken to a shelter. However, as her car pulled away, she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end of their encounter. The dog's eyes lingered in her mind, filled with a haunting mix of hope and despair. Days passed and life resumed its usual rhythm at Kensington Palace. Official duties filled Kate's schedule, but her thoughts often wandered back to the stray dog. She found herself wondering whether it was safe, whether it had found a home, and whether it still thought of her as she thought of it. One evening, unable to ignore the nagging feeling any longer, Kate asked her team for an update. They informed her that the dog had been taken to a nearby shelter and was undergoing rehabilitation. Moved by this news, Kate decided to visit the shelter herself. It was an unusual decision for someone of her status, but Kate's compassionate nature often led her down unexpected paths. When she arrived at the shelter, the staff greeted her warmly, albeit with surprise. They led her to a quiet corner where the dog was resting. It looked healthier now, its coat cleaner and its frame no longer frail, but its eyes, those same soulful brown eyes, lit up with unmistakable recognition the moment they met hers. Kate knelt down, her smile breaking into a laugh as the dog rushed toward her, its tail wagging furiously. "You remember me," she murmured, stroking its fur as the dog leaned into her touch. It was a reunion that felt oddly profound, as if fate had woven their paths together for a reason. Over the next hour, Kate listened as the shelter staff shared what little they had uncovered about the dog's history. It had likely been abandoned, left to fend for itself in a world that could be unkind to strays. Yet, despite its hardships, the dog had shown resilience and an uncanny capacity for trust. Kate couldn't ignore the tug at her heart. By the time she left the shelter, she had made a decision. The dog would come home with her, at least temporarily. She wanted to ensure it received the care and love it deserved, and Kensington Palace, she reasoned, had more than enough space for one more inhabitant. Adjusting to life at the palace was an adventure for the dog, now named Shadow by Kate and her children. At first, Shadow seemed overwhelmed by the grandeur of its new surroundings, hesitating at every doorway and skittering away from the polished floors. But with time and patience, it began to thrive. Kate's children adored Shadow, spending hours playing fetch in the palace gardens or snuggling with it by the fireplace. Shadow, in turn, became a source of joy and comfort for the entire family. It followed Kate wherever she went, earning its name with its constant presence by her side. Its loyalty was unwavering, and its once sad eyes now sparkled with a happiness that touched everyone who met it. But Shadow's impact extended beyond the palace walls. Inspired by the dog's story, Kate began advocating more actively for animal welfare. She used her platform to raise awareness about the plight of stray animals, highlighting the importance of adoption and responsible pet ownership. Shadow became a symbol of hope, its story resonating with countless people who found solace in its transformation. Months later, during an event honoring animal rescue organizations, Kate shared Shadow's journey with an audience. Her voice, filled with emotion, recounted the day she first saw those brown eyes in the village. "Shadow taught me something invaluable," she said, "that even in the darkest moments, love and kindness can bring light. Every life matters, no matter how small or forgotten." As she spoke, Shadow sat quietly by her side, a living testament to her words. The audience was moved, many wiping away tears. Shadow's story had come full circle, transforming from a forgotten stray to a cherished companion and a beacon of hope. What happened next was unexpected. Letters began pouring in from across the world, stories of other rescued animals, pledges to adopt strays, and messages of gratitude for Kate's advocacy. Shadow's journey had sparked a movement, proving that a single act of compassion could ripple outward in unimaginable ways. Shadow's presence remained a cherished part of the Middleton household. It had become more than just a pet. It was a reminder of the profound connection that could exist between humans and animals. Every wag of its tail, every gentle nuzzle, spoke of a bond forged through kindness, a bond that had changed both its life and Kate's forever. And so, the stray dog that had once wandered the streets, unnoticed and unloved, found a place where it belonged. In Shadow's story, there was a lesson for all, a reminder that even the smallest acts of compassion could bring about the most extraordinary transformations, often in ways that brought tears to the eyes of those who witnessed them. Shadow's story did not end with finding a home at Kensington Palace. In fact, it was only the beginning of a journey that would unfold in unexpected ways, touching lives far beyond the palace walls. As the days turned into weeks, Shadow became not only a loyal companion, but also a key part of Kate Middleton's growing mission to inspire kindness and hope in the world. Kate soon discovered that Shadow had an extraordinary sensitivity to people's emotions. Whether it was sensing when one of her children was upset, or nudging her gently when she appeared lost in thought, Shadow seemed to possess an intuitive understanding of human feelings. This unique trait caught the attention of professionals working in animal-assisted therapy, and Kate, ever curious and compassionate, began to explore the possibility of involving Shadow in programs that could help others heal. After months of training, Shadow officially became a certified therapy dog. While many therapy dogs required years to adapt to the role, Shadow took to it naturally, as if it had always been destined to provide comfort to others. Kate arranged for Shadow to visit schools, hospitals, and care homes, where its gentle demeanor and calm presence brought solace to those in need. One of the places Shadow visited was a pediatric hospital in London. The children, many of whom were battling serious illnesses, lit up the moment Shadow entered the room. Its wagging tail and warm eyes seemed to melt away their fears, even if only for a moment. Kate often accompanied Shadow on these visits, sitting with the children and talking to their families while Shadow curled up beside the little ones, offering silent companionship. A particular child, Emily, stood out during one of these visits. She was a shy 8-year-old undergoing treatment for leukemia and had barely spoken to anyone in weeks. When Shadow approached her, Emily hesitated at first, but eventually she reached out a small hand to stroke its soft fur. The change was immediate. Emily's face broke into a smile, and she began to talk, first to Shadow and then to Kate. Over the weeks that followed, Shadow became a regular visitor to Emily's room, and her recovery process seemed to gain new momentum. Her parents attributed much of her newfound optimism to the presence of the gentle dog. Shadow's visits weren't limited to hospitals. Kate arranged for it to spend time in care homes as well, where elderly residents often felt isolated and forgotten. For many of these residents, Shadow's arrival was the highlight of their week. It seemed to bring back memories of pets they had loved in their younger years, unlocking a sense of joy that had been buried beneath years of loneliness. During one visit, an elderly man named Mr. Howard, who had been withdrawn and unresponsive for months, suddenly began speaking when Shadow nudged his hand. "I had a dog just like this when I was a boy," he murmured, his voice trembling. The staff at the care home were stunned, and tears filled their eyes as they watched him recount stories from his youth, his fingers never leaving Shadow's fur. Shadow's influence extended far beyond London. News of its visits spread through social media, with heartwarming photos and videos capturing the dog's interactions with people. It wasn't long before Shadow became a symbol of resilience and compassion, sparking conversations about the healing power of animals. Kate began receiving invitations to bring Shadow to other countries where its story had inspired organizations to adopt similar therapy programs. During a visit to a children's center in India, Shadow met children who had been rescued from challenging circumstances. Many of them had never seen a dog up close, and their initial fear soon turned into fascination as Shadow lay down patiently, letting them stroke its fur and giggle at its playful antics. For these children, Shadow represented a world of kindness they had never known. In a visit to a war-torn region in Eastern Europe, Shadow provided comfort to displaced families living in temporary shelters. One mother, holding her young daughter close, tearfully thanked Kate and Shadow for bringing a sense of normalcy to their lives, even if only for a day. "It's not just a dog," the woman said through an interpreter. "It's a reminder that there is still love and hope in the world." The movement wasn't confined to Shadow's travels. Inspired by its story, countless people around the globe began adopting stray animals, donating to shelters, and supporting animal welfare initiatives. Kate partnered with several organizations to launch a campaign called From Shadows to Light, emphasizing the transformative impact of adopting and caring for stray animals. Shadow became the face of the campaign, its image appearing on posters, advertisements, and fundraising materials. One of the most profound chapters in Shadow's journey unfolded when it began working with military veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Kate, deeply moved by the sacrifices of servicemen and women, felt strongly about addressing the challenges they faced upon returning to civilian life. Shadow became a key part of a pilot program designed to provide emotional support to veterans. The results were astounding. Many veterans, who had struggled to open up about their experiences, found solace in Shadow's unwavering presence. A former soldier named Tom, who had been grappling with severe anxiety and nightmares, described how Shadow had given him a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. "It's like the dog knows exactly what I'm feeling," he said. "When I'm with Shadow, I don't feel so alone." Inspired by these successes, Kate worked to expand the program, ensuring that therapy animals could reach more veterans in need. Shadow's role in this initiative became a cornerstone of its legacy, proving that even the smallest acts of compassion could ripple outward to create profound change. Amid Shadow's growing fame and the flurry of activities surrounding its new role, an unexpected reunion took place that added another layer of poignancy to its story. During a visit to the village where Shadow had first appeared, Kate met an elderly woman named Mrs. Evans, who tearfully confessed that she believed Shadow might have been her late son's dog. Her son, a young man who had tragically passed away in an accident a year earlier, had owned a dog that matched Shadow's description. Kate arranged for Mrs. Evans to meet Shadow. When the dog saw the woman, something remarkable happened. It bounded toward her, its tail wagging furiously, and rested its head in her lap. Mrs. Evans sobbed as she stroked Shadow, calling it by the name her son had given it, Buddy. It was clear to everyone present that the dog remembered her, and the reunion brought closure to a painful chapter in Mrs. Evans' life. While Mrs. Evans, due to her age, couldn't care for Shadow full-time, Kate promised that the dog would always be part of her life. From that day forward, Mrs. Evans became a regular visitor to Kensington Palace, where she spent afternoons reminiscing with Shadow by her side. Years passed, and Shadow remained a beloved member of the Middleton family. Its story continued to inspire millions, shaping a legacy built on the foundation of love, resilience, and hope. The From Shadows to Light campaign grew into a global movement, funding shelters, therapy programs, and adoption initiatives in dozens of countries. Kate often reflected on how a single encounter with a stray dog had transformed not only her life, but also the lives of countless others. Shadow's presence had taught her and her family lessons they would carry with them forever. Lessons about the enduring power of kindness and the extraordinary ways in which animals could touch human hearts. When Shadow eventually passed away, its loss was felt deeply by all who had known and loved it. Tributes poured in from around the world, with many sharing how Shadow's story had inspired them to adopt a stray, volunteer at a shelter, or simply approach life with more compassion. Kate and her family held a private ceremony in the palace gardens, planting a tree in Shadow's memory, a living tribute to a dog that had changed the world. In the years that followed, the tree grew tall and strong, its branches reaching toward the sky. Beneath it, children played, families gathered, and visitors paused to reflect on the incredible journey of a stray dog that had found its way into the heart of a duchess, and through her, into the hearts of millions. Shadow's story had come full circle, leaving behind a legacy that would never be forgotten. Shadow's legacy grew even after its passing, as the world continued to celebrate the life of the stray dog that had touched countless hearts. The memory of its transformation from a neglected stray to a global symbol of hope inspired movements that transcended borders, impacting lives in ways no one could have anticipated. Shadow's journey, intertwined with Kate Middleton's, became a story not just of redemption but also of the extraordinary power of connection between humans and animals. In the gardens of Kensington Palace, the tree planted in Shadow's memory grew into a majestic landmark. Over the years, it became a symbol of resilience and love, a gathering place for those seeking inspiration. Tourists, locals, and dignitaries visiting the palace often stopped to admire the tree and reflect on its significance. One summer, Kate initiated an event called Stories Under Shadow's Tree, inviting children and families to gather beneath its sprawling branches. The event featured storytellers who shared tales of courage, kindness, and perseverance, drawing parallels to Shadow's life. Among them were children who had met Shadow during its therapy visits, now grown up, sharing how the dog had helped them through difficult times. A girl named Sophie, who had been one of the children at the pediatric hospital Shadow visited, stood before a captivated audience. "When I was sick, I didn't believe I'd ever feel joy again," she said, her voice trembling. "But Shadow showed me that even when things are hard, there's still love in the world. That love helped me heal." Her words moved everyone present, solidifying the idea that Shadow's influence was eternal. Building on the success of the From Shadows to Light campaign, Kate and her team established the Shadow Foundation, a global organization dedicated to improving the lives of animals and humans through acts of compassion. The foundation's mission was multifaceted, rescuing and rehabilitating stray animals, promoting therapy animal programs, and educating communities about the importance of humane treatment for animals. The foundation quickly gained traction, receiving support from celebrities, philanthropists, and animal lovers worldwide. Branches were established in countries as diverse as Brazil, Kenya, Japan, and Australia, each adapting its programs to local needs. In Brazil, the foundation worked with street children and stray dogs, creating a unique program where children learned responsibility and empathy by caring for the animals. In Kenya, it partnered with wildlife conservation groups to protect stray animals living near nature reserves. One of the most ambitious projects under the Shadow Foundation was the Companions for Hope program, which paired rescued animals with people facing emotional or physical challenges. Veterans struggling with PTSD, children with developmental disabilities, and seniors in care homes all found comfort in their new companions. Each story of a rescued dog or cat finding its forever home deepened the foundation's impact, reinforcing the bond that Shadow's journey had exemplified. Recognizing the profound impact Shadow had on the world, a public monument was commissioned in London. The statue, placed in Hyde Park near the Serpentine, depicted Shadow sitting with its characteristic calm demeanor, gazing outward as if watching over the world. Surrounding the statue was a garden filled with wildflowers, symbolizing renewal and growth. The unveiling ceremony was attended by thousands, including families who had been touched by Shadow's visits, animal rights advocates, and members of the public inspired by its story. Kate delivered a heartfelt speech, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. Shadow taught us that no life is insignificant and that the smallest acts of kindness can create ripples that change the world. This monument is not just for Shadow, it's for every stray animal waiting for love, every person searching for hope, and every heart that believes in the power of compassion. The monument became a pilgrimage site for animal lovers and admirers of Shadow's legacy. Visitors often left flowers, handwritten notes, or small tokens at its base, creating a tapestry of tributes that reflected the depth of Shadow's impact. Shadow's story inspired a wave of artistic and creative works that further cemented its place in the cultural consciousness. Filmmakers, authors, and musicians found inspiration in the tale, crafting works that resonated with audiences around the globe. A critically acclaimed documentary titled Shadow's Light chronicled the dog's journey, from its humble beginnings in the rural village to its global influence as a therapy animal and symbol of hope. The film included interviews with people whose lives had been touched by Shadow, offering an intimate look at the connections it had fostered. It premiered at major film festivals, winning awards and bringing renewed attention to animal welfare issues. Children's literature also embraced Shadow's story, with picture books and young adult novels capturing the essence of its journey. One particularly beloved book, Shadow's Journey, told the story from the dog's perspective, allowing readers to imagine the world through its eyes. The book became a bestseller, sparking classroom discussions about empathy and kindness. Even the music world paid homage to Shadow. A renowned singer-songwriter released a ballad titled "Follow Me Home," inspired by Shadow's unwavering loyalty and the bond it formed with Kate Middleton. The song became an anthem for animal welfare campaigns, with proceeds donated to the Shadow Foundation. Shadow's life and story also sparked discussions about the deeper connection between humans and animals. Philosophers, theologians, and animal behaviorists debated the nature of the bond that had allowed Shadow to touch so many lives. Some described it as a spiritual connection, suggesting that Shadow's ability to sense human emotions and provide comfort went beyond mere instinct. Workshops and seminars exploring the concept of animal intuition became popular, often citing Shadow as a case study. People shared their own experiences of moments when their pets seemed to understand their feelings in ways that defied explanation. Shadow's story became a cornerstone of these discussions, symbolizing the profound ways animals could bridge gaps between species and heal emotional wounds. For Kate, Shadow's influence was deeply personal. In the quiet moments of her busy life, she often found herself reflecting on how a chance encounter with a stray dog had altered her perspective on the world. Shadow had reminded her of the beauty in small acts of compassion and the importance of seeing value in every life, no matter how overlooked or forgotten. Kate shared these reflections in a memoir she authored several years after Shadow's passing. Titled "In Shadow's Footsteps," the book offered an intimate glimpse into her journey with the dog that had captured her heart. She wrote about their first meeting, the transformative experiences they shared, and the lessons she had learned along the way. Shadow taught me to listen, to really listen, not just with my ears, but with my heart. It showed me that love doesn't need words, that trust is built in silence, and that the smallest gestures can carry the greatest weight. The memoir became a bestseller, with proceeds supporting the Shadow Foundation. Readers across the world found solace and inspiration in Kate's words, many writing to share how the book had encouraged them to adopt a stray or show kindness to an animal in need. As the years passed, Shadow's legacy continued to grow. The programs and initiatives it had inspired expanded, reaching even the most remote corners of the globe. From rural villages in Africa to bustling cities in Asia, the values Shadow embodied, compassion, resilience, and hope, became universal. Animal shelters reported a surge in adoptions, citing Shadow's story as a driving force. Communities organized stray animal care programs, ensuring that no creature would be left to suffer alone. Children who had read about Shadow grew up to become veterinarians, animal rights activists, and advocates for kindness. The tree at Kensington Palace became a living testament to Shadow's impact, its branches sheltering generations of visitors who found inspiration beneath its shade. The statue in Hyde Park remained a beloved landmark, a silent reminder of a stray dog that had changed the world. Though Shadow was no longer physically present, its legacy inspired a new generation of rescued animals and compassionate humans. Many families who had been moved by Shadow's story found themselves drawn to shelters, looking for their own shadow. Animal rescue organizations reported a surge in adoptions, particularly of older or less adoptable animals, as people realized that every creature deserved a chance, no matter its circumstances or appearance. Among these adopters was a young boy named Liam, whose story would go on to mirror Shadow's in remarkable ways. Liam, a quiet and introverted child, had struggled with anxiety and a sense of loneliness. One day, while visiting an adoption event organized by the Shadow Foundation, he locked eyes with a scruffy dog that seemed to embody the same tentative hope Shadow once had. The dog, named Rusty, had been overlooked by others due to its age and shy demeanor, but Liam felt an instant connection. When Liam brought Rusty home, the transformation was mutual. Rusty blossomed under Liam's care, shedding its fear and replacing it with trust. Liam, in turn, grew more confident and outgoing, finding a steadfast companion in Rusty. Their bond became a symbol of how the spirit of Shadow lived on in every connection forged between a rescued animal and a loving human. Rusty's story, shared widely through social media, became a shining example of how Shadow's legacy had sown seeds of kindness that continued to bear fruit. Liam and Rusty even became ambassadors for the Shadow Foundation, appearing at events to encourage others to consider adopting animals in need. While Shadow's emotional impact was undeniable, its story also sparked significant changes in policies regarding animal welfare. Kate Middleton, leveraging her public influence, worked tirelessly with lawmakers and advocacy groups to ensure that no stray animal would be left to suffer as Shadow once had. Through her efforts, the UK introduced new legislation aimed at reducing animal homelessness and ensuring humane treatment for all creatures. The cornerstone of this legislation was the Shadow Act, a comprehensive policy that addressed issues such as stricter penalties for animal cruelty, incentives for adopting stray animals, and funding for shelters and rescue operations. The Shadow Act also included educational initiatives to teach children about empathy toward animals, ensuring that future generations would grow up with a greater sense of responsibility. The law's passage was celebrated as a landmark moment for animal welfare, not just in the UK, but globally. Several other countries followed suit, citing the Shadow Act as a model for humane and progressive animal welfare policies. In speeches and interviews, lawmakers frequently referenced Shadow's story, emphasizing the profound lessons it had taught the world. As the Shadow Foundation grew, it began exploring innovative ways to amplify its impact. One groundbreaking initiative involved the use of technology to connect animals with potential adopters more efficiently. The foundation partnered with developers to create a mobile app called Shadow Connect, which used advanced algorithms to match people with animals in need based on personality, lifestyle, and preferences. The app became a game changer, significantly reducing the time animals spent in shelters. Users could browse profiles of dogs, cats, and other animals, complete with photos, descriptions, and even videos showcasing their unique personalities. Shadow Connect also integrated success stories, offering users a glimpse of the joy and fulfillment that came with adopting a rescued animal. Beyond adoption, the app included resources for pet care, training, and access to veterinarians. It also featured a section called Shadow's Wisdom, where users could read inspirational stories, tips on fostering empathy, and advice on building strong bonds with their pets. The app's success was overwhelming, with millions of downloads and countless animals finding their forever homes. Its impact extended far beyond adoptions, fostering a digital community of animal lovers united by Shadow's enduring spirit. In small towns and big cities alike, the ripple effect of Shadow's story continued to inspire grassroots initiatives. Community members began organizing programs to care for stray animals, transforming neighborhoods into havens of compassion. One such initiative emerged in a bustling urban area where a group of volunteers started a project called Shadow's Watch. Shadow's Watch involved patrolling the streets to provide food, water, and medical care to stray animals. The project quickly gained momentum, with local businesses donating supplies and residents volunteering their time. Within a year, the initiative had drastically reduced the number of stray animals in the area, and many of the rescues found loving homes. One notable success story from Shadow's Watch involved a stray cat named Luna, who had been living in a dilapidated building. When volunteers rescued her, Luna was malnourished and wary of humans. With time, patience, and care, Luna recovered and was adopted by a single mother and her young daughter. The family credited Luna with bringing them closer together, as caring for the once lost cat reminded them of the importance of nurturing one another. As Shadow's story continued to captivate the world, researchers began studying the profound emotional connections between humans and animals. Shadow's ability to sense emotions and provide comfort became the subject of scientific inquiry, leading to groundbreaking discoveries in the fields of psychology and animal behavior. Studies revealed that interactions with animals like Shadow could significantly reduce stress, anxiety, and depression in humans. This research validated the therapeutic benefits of programs involving therapy animals, leading to increased funding and expansion of such initiatives. Shadow's legacy became a cornerstone of this scientific movement, its story frequently cited in academic papers and conferences. One surprising finding emerged from a study on the physiological effects of human-animal interactions. Researchers discovered that when people pet therapy animals, both the humans and the animals experienced a release of oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding and trust. This mutual benefit reinforced the idea that the connection between humans and animals was not only emotional but also deeply biological. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us? What are your thoughts on a stray dog following Kate Middleton? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.